Before I begin this powerful Bible story, dear viewers, I want to encourage you, don't miss tomorrow's life-changing story. Please subscribe right now, so you will always receive the word that can transform your life and build your faith. Now, stay with me to the very end of this story, because what happens at the conclusion will shake your heart and inspire your spirit. The Bible tells us of a remarkable day when Jesus was passing through a crowded city. The streets were full of people, pressing, shouting, trying to get close to him. Jesus had already become well known in Israel. His miracles had shaken the land, lepers cleansed, the blind receiving sight, the lame walking, demons cast out with a single word. Everywhere he went, multitudes gathered. People traveled far and wide just to hear his voice, to see his face, or to touch him in hopes of receiving healing. Among that crowd was a woman whose story was darker and more desperate than most. For 12 long years, she had been suffering from a terrible condition. She had an issue of blood, constant bleeding that would not stop. For 12 years, she lived in pain, in shame, and in fear. In the Jewish culture, her sickness made her ceremonially unclean. This meant she could not enter the temple freely, she was considered unfit to touch others, and anyone who came into contact with her would also be considered unclean. She was an outcast, living in silence and humiliation. This woman had gone to many doctors, seeking a cure. She had spent all she had, her money, her wealth, her possessions, hoping to find healing. But the more she sought help, the worse her condition became. Year after year, her hope was drained, and despair filled her heart. She was weak, her body wasting away, and her soul carried the heavy burden of rejection. But on this particular day, she heard the news: Jesus of Nazareth was passing through her town. She had heard the stories, the power in his voice, the miracles in his touch, and the love in his eyes. She believed in her heart, if only I may touch the hem of his garment, I shall be made whole. Now imagine the scene. The streets overflowing with people, bodies pressing against each other, the noise of voices shouting, some crying for healing, others shouting praises, and some mocking. Soldiers trying to keep order, disciples trying to guard Jesus, but the crowd was uncontrollable. In the middle of all this, the weak woman pushed her way through. She was trembling, not only from weakness but from fear. She knew that if people recognized her, an unclean woman, touching others in the crowd, she could be beaten, ridiculed, even driven away. But faith burned stronger than fear. Step by step, she pressed through. Someone shoved her aside, someone cursed her for bumping into them. But she did not stop. Her eyes were fixed on one thing, the figure of Jesus ahead. She whispered in her heart, if only I can touch the edge of his robe. Finally, with the last of her strength, she stretched out her hand. The crowd did not notice her, but her trembling fingers brushed the hem of Jesus' garment. And instantly, like a rushing wind through her veins, she felt it. The bleeding stopped, her pain vanished, her body was strengthened. For the first time in 12 years, her body was whole. Her tears flowed, but this time not from suffering, but from joy unspeakable. But then, something terrifying happened. Jesus suddenly stopped walking. The crowd stumbled in confusion. His voice, strong and commanding, pierced the air, "Who touched my clothes?" The disciples looked at him in surprise. "Master, you see the multitude thronging you, and you ask, 'Who touched me?'" But Jesus' eyes scanned the crowd. His face was serious, his presence heavy. He was not asking casually, he knew. He said again, "Someone touched me, for I perceive power has gone out from me." The woman's heart nearly stopped. Fear gripped her chest. She thought she could slip away unnoticed, but now the Son of God had turned his gaze toward her. The crowd grew silent, eyes darting around, whispering, wondering who it could be. The woman knew she could not hide. Trembling, she fell to her knees before Jesus. With tears streaming down her face, she confessed everything before the crowd, her 12 years of suffering, her shame, her desperate faith, and how she had touched his garment. The people gasped. Some stepped back in disgust, realizing she had moved through the crowd while unclean. Others murmured with awe, but Jesus' expression was not anger. His eyes softened, and his voice carried both authority and compassion as he spoke. "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace, and be healed of your affliction." At that moment, not only was her body healed, but her spirit was restored. She was no longer an outcast, no longer in shame. Jesus had called her, "Daughter." That single word restored her dignity, her place in society, and her peace with God. But the story does not end there. While Jesus was still speaking, messengers came running from the house of Jairus, a ruler of the synagogue who had earlier begged Jesus to heal his dying daughter. They said, "Your daughter is dead. Do not trouble the teacher any longer." The crowd fell silent, first the bleeding woman, now news of death. Fear thickened the air, but Jesus looked at Jairus and said, "Do not be afraid, only believe, and she will be made well." And just as he had done for the woman who was healed by faith, Jesus continued on to perform another miracle, raising Jairus' daughter from the dead. Dear friends, this story shows us the power of faith. The woman's faith touched Jesus more than the pressing of the whole crowd. Many brushed against him, but only one touched him with faith. And that faith released the power of God into her life. Today, you may be like that woman, carrying hidden pain, rejected by people, broken by years of struggle. But the same Jesus is passing by in your life. If you will stretch out your hand in faith and touch him, not just with words, but with true belief, you too can receive your healing, your peace, and your restoration. Before I close, let me remind you, this is just one of the countless mighty works of Jesus. And tomorrow, we will dive into another powerful story that will stir your spirit even more. Don't miss it. Subscribe right now, so you will not be left behind. Stay with us, because the journey through the Bible is full of wonders, mysteries, and life-changing lessons. Until tomorrow, remain blessed, and remember, the power of Jesus is still alive today.